Welcome everyone, my name's Gay Green. In my scouting role I'm the Regional Commissioner for Training in the Hunter and Coastal, which is just north of us here. Welcome to welcoming new leaders into your group, which is always really hard. As group leaders, you're a CEO of a small business really, and you have a big family of people that you need to get together to make your business a great successful business, and that includes new leaders and committees and teams. So today we're going to look at some of the things that we can assist you to build a great team. So we'll look at some new leaders. So how do you think we can get some new leaders into our group? Advertise? Yep. How are we going to make them feel welcome? Sorry, what was that? So, to get some new leaders into the group, we need to make them feel welcome. Have fun. Gee, sometimes we forget that word in scouting, don't we? So much pressure around us.
Talk to them and get to know them.
Get to know them. Get to know some of their passions and their interests. Why do they want to come and join scouting? Why not the soccer club? Apart from the fact they might have some kids coming.
To share their facts, to share their experiences in the outdoors.
Yep.
To help develop them.
Yep. Could be that they want to give back or to enjoy the journey with their children.
I think also it's well developing the children, it's developing them. It's an opportunity as an adult to learn something and develop itself.
Exactly.
That's a good thing to help sell.
Who in scouting can honestly put their hand up and say they've learnt something, they've done some amazing things in their role in scouting. Something? Sorry. I believe everyone should be able to have got something out of scouting that's improved them. I, for instance, got 2 Cert 4s when I did my advanced training. In the workforce, that's a pay rise for some people. So scouting has all sorts of things that we can offer them. Without the pay rise.
Did you get like a 20% pay rise when you got in here?
In scouting, it's 000s tomorrow, always love Sundays.
20%? Yep.
We can offer them support and open information about our roles for a new leader. But the biggest thing we ask you to do when you're talking to new leaders is not use some of our jargon. Who still throws up, it's only an hour a week?
I'm honest with them. I will tell them they'll hear that.
Yep.
And that is an absolute lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you sound them out first. Well, I sound them out first because they may think they want to join a section,
Yep.
but their skills and passions lay with another section.
Yep. So how can we, in the paperwork or the structure that we have now, how can we determine what's going to be the best area for that new person?
They usually go where their kids are.
Sometimes. And sometimes I had a much better time scouting when my kid went up, personally.
It's just second point, get to know them.
Get to know them, but what about putting them on as an adult helper first?
What's that?
Because, you know, scouting might not fit them after they've had a little play for a while. And if they're an adult helper, it's number one, not costing your group anything. They still do their basic 3 modules, their child safe, their WHS and their e-bully. It's not costing your group anything. You can actually see if they're a fit into your group and see where they might be best with some of their attributes to be able to work with your team. Remember, you as the group leader are choosing your team. You're choosing where you want to put your people.
If you put them on as an adult helper,
Yep.
can they then continue along with their e-learning modules like their Common Core as an adult helper before they decide to fill in their own way?
Absolutely. Once they've gone into that e-learning environment, they can do any module they want to. And in fact, I encourage it. Because then if they decide to become a leader, half their e-learning's done, and in fact quite often all of it. So yes, once they've got their clearance, they can jump into that e-learning environment and do anything. So we want to be positive, we don't want to be negative, we don't want to have our jargons. We certainly don't want to bring up past history. We used to do it this way, we used to wear a khaki uniform. We now have a lovely blue one. And follow up and support them with their training. Don't use training as a big stick. It's not a stick, it's an area where they can evolve and learn some really great things and pass it on to our youth. So use it as a carrot. We have got some amazing training modules and some amazing weekends away where you can network with amazing people and more importantly have some fun. So use it as a carrot as opposed to a stick. So let's talk about building a great team. So is this our normal structure of a group? Everyone has all this, 3 Joey leaders, 4 cub leaders, 3 scout leaders, 2 venturers, a full committee. Ideally, isn't it? That's the best group in the world. What a dream. And a rover crew to add it. We would all love that as a team, but unfortunately some of us, we don't have that, so therefore we have to start building. So as a group leader, you're the CEO of the group and it's your responsibility to choose the right people to make your group an effective operation. Does anyone disagree with that? So, who's responsible for some of these? Let's have a show of hands. Who thinks the group leader is responsible for promoting the group in the community? It's not the section leaders? Committee? Yeah, it can be everyone. Put the uniform out there, you're promoting the group. What about progression of youth members through the sections?
That's section leaders.
And you group leader.
We just let them know they also want to move up.
So your section leaders might know by their age that it's time for them to move on. The group leader, however, looking at ScoutLink, will have a coloured bar that says at their age it's time for them to move on. When I was Kayla, if they were taller than me, it was time for them to go to Scouts. So they're always measuring up. No, it doesn't. It's whether they're ready to move on.
Yeah, like my theory is if they're working towards an award,
Yep.
or they're still getting what they can out of it,
Yes.
keep them there as long as they need to.
Yep.
If they're not working towards anything or they're just getting bored, then let them go.
Does everyone agree or disagree with that? It's all about the youth leading how they want to do. If we're saying to the youth, no, you need to move up now, well, they're not having a good time and they're going to walk with their feet. It's all about encouraging them to do their best.
Like we encourage that through Joey's Cubs Scouts when they get to Venture 18, you've got to implement until we're finished. There's no extension. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Joey can go on if the Joey's got a learning ability, and I'm from Lions, right? So I've got youth members all over the world and all different capabilities. I've got Joey that might not go up to Cubs when he's 8, but he can still get his Joey promise or her Joey promise
Yes.
at 9. But yeah, we don't make that ability for a venturer who is struggling to get their Queen Scout after 18.
And that's something we should be talking probably to the State Commissioner of Ventures under the youth program to see whether there's something, because I agree with you. In the other sections we can apply for dispensation because of a disability or a learning difficulty to be able to extend that time. We should be able to do it for venturers as well for the Queen Scout. I agree with that 100%.
That changes though, because then once they turn 18, they become an adult.
They are an adult
So that
and that's the reason why it changes. Yes. But we're inclusive. We're inclusive, so there should be some dispensation and I agree.
Track it. How does that work in scouting? Because I've got a venture that's turned out 4 months ago, which is still on my books.
Yep.
Do I have to retire because she's going to go up the road?
Isn't it 18 or they go up to rovers once they've completed?
Well, this is the thing. So
When they finish
it's still showing your scouting.
but isn't it all when they finish their school year? So 18.
I believe it's when they finish their year 12, is it that they can stay on as a venturer. Don't quote me to that because I'm not involved in that structure of scouting. I'm involved in training leaders. But that's something you could check with your DC or one of our state people this weekend, but I had heard that it's 18 or until they complete the HSC.
I thought that was the change to that.
Sorry?
That's what it's changed to.
Changed to, that's current? Yeah, that's what I thought it was. All right, so moving on. Recruitment, youth leaders and committee. Whose responsibility is that? Group leader or section leader? Yep, can be all of us. Leader development and training. Group leader. Why is it important for the group leader to know what level that their leaders are at in their training? Yep. Yeah, and that's why we encourage you as group leaders to hold a wood badge so you can be the mentor / PLA for your trainees and not someone else, because it's in your invested interest to get them over the line. So that's why that's the big push why we want you to get those wood badge. Delivering the youth program, group leader or section leader? Absolutely the section leader, got nothing to do with the group leader whatsoever. Dispute and resolution. Horrible job, isn't it? We'll talk a bit later on this afternoon about conflict management. Building a sense of a group family. Everyone. And communicating the latest scouting updates to members. Yep, and where will they find that information? Emails, district councils, different meetings, trainings and all sorts of things. Okay, so let's look at managing a group. So we've got some rules. The group leader has requirements. What kind of requirements does the group leader have? What's some of the things that the group leader's got to do? Why do they have so much paperwork to do?
Have a high level of insanity.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's put the hat on as the manager of this group. So therefore, there's some rules and policies that they've got to follow to be able to make sure that the group's running legally. Yep. Development. It's a huge part of the group leader to be able to talk to the leaders and get to know their strengths and weaknesses to be able to make sure that the group is running in a really great area. The group leader needs to be seen as fair and reasonable, the go-to person. Are you a go-to person? You should be as open as you can. And a group plan. Who has a group plan? Not many. Not many. Bob, why do you have a group plan?
There's a collective, there's a direction,
Yep.
it's collective,
Yep.
and it's got some emphasis in it.
It's got time frame.
Yeah, it's got time frame, we've also sort of distilled it, it's about people, it's about our program, it's about the property that lets us do those things.
Yep.
Steps and third, and we've unfortunately just added paperwork to it. But the key thing sort of hangs it together, and that's what I really would.
Does everyone know where to find the group plan on the state website? That's good because it all changed yesterday. The state website changed yesterday. We've all got to learn how to drive it now. It looks pretty, but I don't have my blue tab there anymore.
It's not mobile friendly anymore either.
Apparently it's supposed to be mobile friendly and tablet friendly, but I haven't played with it much. I only saw it come online yesterday afternoon.
I've got a complaint from my rover.
So it's already, it's probably got some ironing out to do. So
10 out of 10 complain about it.
the group plans under forms. It's an amazing tool. It gives you direction. Bob, did you write it on your own or did you write it with your leaders?
We actually, it came in bits and pieces, but we actually put it together at a joint committee and learned from it.
Absolutely. There's different sections in the group plan. There's a committee area, there's a fundraising area, there's a leader area. It gives you a really good overall of how your group can look for 12 months, 2 years and 3 years, which is really important for succession planning. I hate to say it, but we all can be replaced and we all should be replaced. We all should have someone that we've got in the background that can take on our role, because sometimes we get sick. Sometimes we have to step away from scouting and let someone else do the role. I can honestly say, put my hand up and say, last year I had a heart attack and it was 6 months into this role. I handed it back to the previous person because I hadn't developed an understudy, so to speak, at this stage. So I took some time out and he took his old role back, which was great because I didn't have to worry. He knew exactly what he was doing. But we all should have someone that we've got in the corner of our mind that can take over any one of those roles should someone get sick, decide to leave very quickly, and there's nothing worse than suddenly you don't have a section leader or a leader in that area because that leader's decided to leave. They could get transferred in work, all sorts of reasons can make them leave. So the group plan is a really good tool for looking at succession planning.
By the way, the website is mobile.
I did read that it was.
Yeah, but it's a what platform though?
Is it Android?
Yeah, I've got Windows, it's not compatible.
Okay. That's probably some feedback that they'd probably like to know. So let's look at a best practice group. What do you think a best practice group could be? What are some of the things that you would need to do to make your group a best practice?
All the forms are filled in and correct and like all your paperwork's up to date.
That's healthy, that's good.
All your leaders are trained or in training.
Yep, someone else got something?
Financially viable.
Financially viable, yeah.
Income is greater than the expense.
Greater than that asset management bill that's going to come in each quarter or month or yearly, depending on which area you're in. Yep, what else? You do have a succession plan. What about you as a leader? Do you have to attend a few meetings? Should. As a group leader, what are some of the meetings you need to attend? Yep.
You should also go to your sections, make some of their meetings, participate in all.
Yep, absolutely. You should go and visit some of your sections, and especially when there's an investiture, it's your job to whack that scarf on. That's important. So, best practice meeting for a group is to do the best things, make sure you've got the best things in place. How to use your doers and thinkers. Use them to their strengths. If someone's really good with the equipment, make them the quartermaster. And we've talked about that. So, going to group council. Who does not hold a group council monthly?
Not monthly. We skip doing it monthly because there are too many meetings. So
Too many meetings?
we do that every 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. Does anyone do it less than that? Once a term? If you're lucky.
Well, it's too much to do. There's too many things, there's too much paperwork to do. If I have to get the minimum thing of paperwork to done,
Yep.
I'm done.
Right?
You know, and paperwork is the slowest thing that's mandatory that has to be done.
So do you think Care Monkey will help you in that
I
respect?
don't know what that is.
We'll find
No,
out.
I don't think it will because I've got DIBS, I've got Scoutlink, I've got this monkey thing happening. I'm not putting in 3 lots of information. I'm not going to use it. It's meant to make things.
It will streamline.
Easier.
It will streamline.
Care Monkey will integrate with Scout.
It will.
And it will remove the old e-papery ones.
Yep.
A1s.
Yep.
To get rid of DIBS, can I do billing through?
DIBS is not compulsory. That's something that you choose to have. No, you don't have to have DIBS.
Scoutlink or Care Monkey should do billing. We shouldn't need DIBS. We should be able to do everything in one portal.
So wait till Care Monkey comes along and have a look at how streamed it is. Sorry?
I think Ken actually can.
I believe it does.
Group leader from Orange, she's a pilot group on it.
Yep, there's a few pilot groups out there at the moment. I know it does send E1 emails and stuff like that.
The only issue you have, I have with Care Monkey or two, the adventurers can't create their own e-forms
Right.
because for obviously underage. And if you're doing something with another group, you won't have access to that group to
Right.
be able to send out your e-bikes.
Okay. So this is all feedback that they'll need over the next few things.
But apart from that, it's magic. Like the whole, you can have it offline on your mobile phone or whatever. You've got the medical at your fingertips.
Which is what the parents have put in. You've not had to put that in. The parents actually put in that information themselves. So That makes a really big thing. Yep, they do. They do. So, look, best practice is you should be having your group councils once a month, 6 weekly, preferably not term, unless you've got an absolutely fantastic group that's running all sections and running really well without any problems whatsoever. Your group council doesn't need to be formal. It can be quite informal. It's a time to sit and chat to your leaders and see how they're going and see how you can help them. It's not all about passing on information. That information can be passed on via email or via your Facebook group or via your web page or something like that. Your group council doesn't need to be all about passing on information. It can be quite social, which can be quite uplifting for leaders. So maybe you need to look at a different way of doing it. Group committees, how often should we be having them? Monthly? Yeah, we've got some assets there that we don't own, that we're caretakers of, that we need to make sure that we're fine. Finances are a really big thing. We need to make sure that we're viable and that we've got money in the bank so that if we need equipment, we can buy it, or we can look at fundraising to be able to buy it. Scout leader meetings weekly, well, the youth program runs weekly. I don't think we need to have those kind of meetings. District meetings, are they an important meeting to go to? They really are. There's an enormous amount of information that goes there, and there's also a training component as well.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic, because like the scouts and the Joeys and the Cubs all go around doing games and cool stuff, and we sit, how long do we sit there for? Too long doing nothing.
See, I believe as a group leader, we can go play anywhere. There's nothing stopping you from going and playing with the Joes and the Scouts and stuff like that and having fun. Well, as group leader, I certainly went and played with the other sections because I think it's really important that you have the cold face there and you know exactly what your leaders are doing. Region meetings, as group leaders, you probably wouldn't go to region meetings very much, but in some, if it's a bigger region and they don't have district meetings, they'll go to those.
Never been invited to a district meeting.
Never been invited to a district meeting.
I don't know if they happen. I've never been there. They don't get called. Don't know who's in the district.
Do you know
Okay.
who the district commissioner is?
Yes,
Well, why don't you ask him?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to ask my
Okay. That's quite interesting. So do your leaders go to a Sione, Mindari, Wandara?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Are those meetings open to just the section leaders, or are they open to all leaders? Sionis, Mindaris, Wandaras. Open to all leaders, not just the section leaders. They should all have a part of going to those meetings. They have a training component. How often should we be training? Well, in our jobs we have to upskill. Why not in scouting? We all should be doing at least an elective once a year to maintain currency. When was the last time anyone jumped into e-learning?
4 days ago.
4 days. Yeah. Last time? Good. Last week? Good. 4 years ago. I would hope that you did your e-bully last year. Everyone had to. Yeah. And we'll also have to renew our Child Safe and WHS in the next year because that's come around to 3 years. It's something that we need to do every 3 years. So, yeah, there will be an email going out that says it's time for you to renew your WHS and your Child Safe module. So you need to just go back in and revisit it. There are actually some slides that have been added to that about 12 months ago. So there is some new information.
Your thing's 5 years.
3.
Mine's not 5. Mine expires in 20.
Oh, you've done it, your number's 5 years, but your training is 3.
Your appointment's 3, so therefore
you
you're...
have to redo the scout section of the...
Yes,
I thought you meant your...
No, you're working with children? No, that's 5 year. No, this is your Child Safe module, your WHS module and your e-bully module. They're all 3 yearly. So what else do we have to do in our meetings? God, haven't we been to enough? Does anyone else go to any other meetings that aren't listed there? Right, so you go to some of the region ones as well? Cool. You share the hall with the guides? So you go to guide meetings as well?
So basically, we each put in 3 representatives.
Uh-huh.
The hall is then run via committee.
Right.
It's awesome.
Excellent.
You'll love it so much if you try it.
So do you do combined activities as well? No?
No, you get diseases from hanging out with guys. I know, I married one.
Might get girl germs.
You get parasites that call children.
Yeah, that's right, yes. Four.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so what are some of the tasks as a group leader you can delegate? Not everything. Nothing. Do you hold it all yourself? Because you're a really important person. Delegation's great. What about if it requires your signature? It's your job. Needs your signature, you must do it. So, I would delegate as much as I could as group leader to make my life easier. Why would you not? Why would you have to think you're so important that you have to do everything and not share the workload? In a workplace, we share the workload.
Want to keep it, it's that sometimes it's more effort to give it on, and then you've got to hold that person's hand all the way through the process of them doing it through the delegation. Or then just don't do it and then it's happening anyway.
It's sometimes if you
Agreed.
you're going to do it yourself.
Agreed?
Yeah, but if you don't have the members or the families, if you've only got a small group,
Yes?
you just can't, there's only so much that people will take on, so it comes back to the group.
You tend to do it a lot.
Well, not tend to, you have to, because there's nobody there that will put their hand up and say, yeah, I'll do that for you.
But if we're looking at succession planning, there should be someone that you should be training to do some of your workload. And I know that's really hard sometimes because you might have a very small group and there may be only 3 or 4 leaders, and the succession planning, you just look and there is absolutely no one I can pass this role on to. But it's something we should have in the back of our mind so that we can pass that role on, so we can be delegating some of that work to someone else so that we don't have such a huge workload. Because
That's where the problem is coming in, is that there is no one there and there's no one within the group, there's no family or family member who is willing to step into the role of a leader.
Yep.
So then where do you get your succession planning from?
And I honestly don't have the answer for that, except that when I took over a group that was failing very badly because it had been vandalised. In fact, we shut it down for 6 months while we rebuilt it, and then we sent the kids to another group so they could continue scouting. We then brought them back when the hall and everything was ready for us, and we were down to 9 people in the whole group. So we had a huge building up to do. What we did was we got out into the community. We didn't necessarily fundraise. We got to every fete. We got to every street corner we could get to, and we flew our flag. We were more an informational booth than we were a fundraising booth, just to talk to people and let them know that Scouts were still alive and we were exciting, and come join us and come play with us. 12 months later, I moved on because I was actually a district leader doing that role. I moved on with 44 people in the group and 3 sections.
The problem we would have with sending our kids elsewhere up on the North Coast is distance.
Distance is a huge thing.
Like, you know, we're half hour from Nambucca,
Yep.
40 minutes from Coles.
Yep.
Parents don't do that.
Yeah, and I respect that. I've not come from an area that has huge distance. I've come from Hunter and Coastal, and prior to being a regional or district leader, I was an Arcala. And so in my district, the nearest Scout group was 7 minutes away. So, you know, we were competing against other Scout groups. So we were a very small area, but I agree with you that distance can be a huge problem.
Even when it comes to training, like I've got 2 potential Joey leaders, but they're not going to want to travel to Pops to train.
No.
Especially the assistant, the one who wants to be assistant, because she's got kids of that age whereby she, you know, she won't get home late 30 at night.
Yep.
Past their bedtime.
I agree. But we are taking training to the people. We're now taking away the 3 training centres that we were holding, or 4 training centres, and we're taking training to the people. If we've got the numbers, we'll come to you, is what Waller's saying. And we're making that happen in all sorts of area. I can tell you next week I'm going to Gloucester to train because the need was there, because it was a new group, and so, you know, we're taking the training team to Gloucester.
Can I suppose this is a bit of an advert for what we do. As I said before, I'm the lone scout leader or group leader, right? We take scouting to the youth members that can't travel. So
Yes.
we do have,
I've got one of your
no, not what we don't have a, no, not one of my,
Oh, you're not here.
no, well, we have road crew, but it's dysfunction, it doesn't attach to us, it doesn't associate with us.
Yep.
And a lot of road crews work that way, and that's fine. I'm happy with that.
No.
So, but, you know, please understand, if your group's having trouble, and you're having trouble delivering the fundamentals of scouting, contact us, because we're here to help.
That's exactly right. There's all sorts of help you can find.
We only got 10 scouts, we're closing the group, we're not functional.
No.
Move them, transfer them across to us. Let
To
us
loans.
help you build your group back up.
Yep.
And then, okay, when you've got 24 scouts, send your scout troop back, we're done.
And sometimes we need to look outside that square. You know, we need to go in and look at what's happening in our community to see whether we can actually jump in on something like that to promote scouting. And that's what it's about, being out in the community, not necessarily fundraising, but promoting scouting. So delegate where you can, unless you need to sign it off, and that will help you to be able to reduce some of your workload. It also makes the rest of your team feel engaged in the group and part of the group, instead of just running the youth program all the time.
What sort of numbers are you talking about that you would say, you know, if there's a need, how big is that need going to need to be? Is 4 enough?
For training,
Basic training is
6. But that, once again, depends on the State Commissioner for Training to approve that course.
We'll never get 6 required training at any group, something like that.
You'd be surprised, they'll workshop. But we'll talk about training offline. All right, so we want to share your workload so you're not the only person doing the job, which, you know, I listen to people here, especially this weekend. I've got enough to do. I've got meetings, I've got paperwork, I've got all these things. Share your workload where you can, unless, of course, you need to sign the paperwork. Yes?
I think a lot of people mistake working with scouts as opposed to working on scouts. If you're doing stuff that committees should be doing, you're a committee member. You're not a group leader.
No.
Like, you should be going, I'm working on it to make sure this runs properly. I'm
Yep.
not running around doing all the jobs. That's
No.
your job, that's your job, that's your job. I'm to make sure you're happening properly.
Yep.
People confuse the role.
As the CEO of the group, you need to make sure that they're doing the role. You shouldn't be doing the role yourself.
That's right, that makes you a section leader or a committee member.
Yep, agreed. Does anyone disagree with that? No? So we need to share our workload so we're not so time poor. So we'll look at the group, the group family. Get the group to share ideas to drive the group unity, and so that we have progression. What are some of the things we can do to make our group feel like our scout group like a really good family, so it drives and it's exciting, it's a place you want to be? What are some of the things you can suggest you do as a full group? Group camps.
Camps, group activity day.
Yeah. When was the last time you did a group camp?
October long weekend, I had one Cub family and all the rest were leaders.
Hard, isn't it? You put so much work into it and that happens.
It's hard.
But did that one family have a good time?
They did.
There you go.
It is hard to get a group camp in amongst all the region and sectional activities.
Yep,
So
it can be.
we do like group Christmas parties and group fun days.
Okay.
Not necessarily a group camp.
And that's okay, you don't have to do a group camp, but it is a suggestion.
One really good activity that benefits everybody is fundraising. So we have an annual activity that every year we do a movie night. So every section, we had 170 people involved in that one activity. So the planning, the execution of the movie night, and the distribution of the funds once we fundraise. So that's a really, pick a horse, make it your main primary fundraising activity, and get everybody involved.
get everyone involved, and that's a really good thing to do. What about annually? What about a linking ceremony? Does that get the whole group done together, or do you just do it in the sections that are involved? Yeah, as many as you can. Does anyone not do a fanfare for a linking ceremony? You don't.
If I do it on a cub night,
Yep.
going up, scouts don't attend. If I do it on a scout night, the cubs don't attend.
And is there any reason for that? Have we worked out? We just don't talk to cubs or scouts? Hard.
Parents are time for, they just,
Yep.
You've got your 4 weeks to do that, that's it. And so,
time for.
we've always had scouts come in to do it. Like, you know, the scout leaders, the scout troop leader comes in and eventually will come in and, you know, they'll have half a dozen scouts in there to do their little hazing in,
Right.
ceremony.
We also have, what we did was like during the group council, you know, when people are sort of going up and whatnot.
Yep.
We have a combined night,
Right.
whether it be the scout night or usually if it's Cubs go up, they come to the Cub night and they'll organise something special and we do what we're doing and then so we do it as a combined Scout Cub night.
That works. So if your linking ceremonies aren't happening or aren't doing very well, have you spoke to youth about what they want? Or do you decide how it's going to be done? We should be youth-led. We should be listening to what they want. And it may well be that the Scouts hate going down to the Cubs for some reason. So we may need to take that linking ceremony away from the hall and, you know, have a chariot race night where the Cubs and the Scouts are actually working together. Find something that the youth want to do together to make that ceremony really exciting.
We have the ceremony for us for Cubs going up to Scouts. They actually, the Cubs and the Scouts develop that themselves and grow
Yep.
over time. And since we have 2 halls, so the Cub that is linking is carried, not allowed to touch the ground. So the Cubs, the other Cubs bring them across with using chairs and blocks and whatever to the Scout hall, and the Scouts are all standing in the hall and then drag the new Cub through the window into the Scout hall.
How exciting.
Yeah, and it's really
Cubs, we had 4 Cubs go up. Once they were blindfolded, tied up, and led outside, and then they had to undo the knots blindfolded.
I think it's also important that our leaders interact between sections. I used to hate it when the Scout leader came down to Cub night because he'd muck my parade up something shocking. But the kids loved it and could not wait to go to Scouts because Balu was hilarious and he always made Kayla get upset on parade. He happened to be my husband, which was worse. But our linkage was amazing because the kids just thought he was hilarious. I get home and go, thanks again. So, you know, if your leaders are interacting between sections, that linkage can help, and they can also look at the different training and assist each other. And we shouldn't just, and certainly with the new youth program, we won't have as much sectionalised stuff like that. We should be blending a lot more. I think if we can try and do more group things, it will help your group grow. It will help everyone feel a part of a family, which is what we try and encourage. And more importantly, you can pass different stuff off so you're not feeling such a workload.
It's also better for them to be able to see what the section above is doing and what it's like.
Yes, indeed.
We have implemented one annual group activity, which is around the AGM, where you always sit there with 2 people and not really. So we changed that around and called it our presentation night. So we have within our we give special awards.
Yes.
To specific kids that has done something amazing, which has nothing to do with your award scheme.
No.
Something amazing.
Yep.
And
An achievement award.
And we make a video, really, we call it Glossodium, the movie. So that's the highlights of the whole 12 months and includes all the different sections. And people now come for that. So now we have the whole film with 60 people when we do the presentation. And by the way, we do the financials and we have the committee and we're done.
And so that's an ARP these days. It's not an. It's not it's not, you don't pick your committee, you've already picked them. As you as CEO, you've chosen the people that are going to assist you run the group, and you have an annual report presentation that is spectacular. You show how good your group is. You have a presentation, you have the kids coming in and doing skits, whatever it takes to encourage. I've had a wine and cheese night to get the parents there. There was no youth, quite obviously, but it was like, come to a wine and cheese night. By the way, this is what your kids did while you weren't with us, and put a big presentation up, music. It was just after Jamboree year. This is what your kids did at Jamboree. Whatever you need to do to showcase your group, to encourage the families to get involved, just find a way to do it. Does anyone have any questions on team building your group, finding the right people? That's a big family group camp, huge, which is really good.
One thing, going back to the family camp things on
Yes.
here too, you're saying the North Coast do the region family camp. Well, all of your group can sort of camp together in one area
That's what we generally do, like we'll
and
take,
try and keep it as a family.
we take up a couple of gazebos and a barbecue, or,
Cool.
so they can all camp around that centralised area as a group.
Yep.
So we try and keep it together.
It's still a family camp in that way.
Yeah.
So,
And a group one.
any further questions? Well, thank you for coming. I've just got